good evening to whichever part of the world you are in. Welcome to Thai Sustainability Summit, hosted by Thai Hyderabad. We are in the day two of the summit, and I'm Priyadarshini from Thai Chennai, excited to kickstart the day and introduce you all to a panel discussion on eco initiatives for sustainable textiles industry. We have put together an amazing panel of speakers from varied expertise. And to introduce them to us and bring out the best in them, we have Ms. Smita Bagla moderating the panel. She is an she is an accomplished businesswoman and a serial entrepreneur. Trained as a computer engineer, she moved to the United States in the 80s. She has had two entrepreneurial exits and is an angel investor, mentor, and a business growth advisor. She's a past president of Thai SoCal and currently runs Aligned Strategies, a marketing consulting firm. Her company advises large companies and well-funded startups with product strategy and business growth. With that, I invite Ms. Smita Bagla to take over the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Priya. I really appreciate the introduction. Thanks, everyone, and welcome to our Thai Sustainability Summit and a very exciting session with a wonderful panelist that I have here today. So just to introduce our topic a little bit, today we'll be talking about how does carbon footprint and waste and recycling play into the textile industry? So we have more than 100 billion garments that are churned out annually, and less than 1% of material used is meant to manufacture these clothes is from recycled materials. So a lot of the process of extracting as well as in creation of the garments is not reusable. So they basically become waste. And so there are a lot of opportunities for sustainability adoption, and the global fashion industry is really looking into it as to how we can reduce the carbon footprint by 50% in the near coming future. So in this panel, I have three wonderful panelists who are innovators as well as educators and startup entrepreneurs. So I will introduce them, each one of them one at a time, and let them talk a little bit more about themselves. So my pleasure to introduce first is Dr. Sandip Patil, who incidentally is also from IIT Kanpur, and that was an interesting find, that he is from the same alma mater as me. Dr. Sandip Patil, he did his PhD at IIT Kanpur, and his company, this eSpin Nanotech Private Limited, it was spun out of our SIGBI Innovation and Incubation Center at IIT Kanpur, and he has extensive experience with the fabrication of nanofiber spinning machines. He has produced important publications in this area of nanotechnology. He has been a recipient of multiple awards regarding innovation in nanofibers. And I will ask him later on, what does nanofiber do and what kind of implications they have in our sustainable industry? So be ready, Sandeep, on it. And with this, I would like to turn it to Dr. Sandip Patil to talk a little bit about himself and let us know as to how he's been working on the sustainability part of the garment industry. Sandip.
Thank you so much, Smita, for the nice introduction, and good morning, everyone, who are attending this event and the panelists. As introduced by Smita ji, yes, we do a lot of research in nanofiber technology, but I must introduce and define something related to the nano, what exactly it is. So the nanofiber technology is basically the very finest size. You can say maybe a order of -9 size of the actual size that we look at it. Our hairs, human hairs, are basically sub-micron in size. So you cannot see the nano. Basically, you need to have the very high resolution instrument to see it. But what application, what properties that we get, that basically it is reduces the size that increase the surface area. And that is how we are applying those nanofibers for the various applications, including filtration technology. We did a lot of research at eSpin Nanotech and at IIT Kanpur before the pandemic also. We have developed a nanofiber-based mask, the Swasa mask. You might be hear about it. During the Ayodhya Puja, our Prime Minister also was wearing, and many eminent personalities are wearing nowadays. Swasa N95 mask. So this was the mask which we have developed during the 2017, and it was the first mask in India based on nanofiber technology that was claiming antivirus and antibacterial properties when all the people, they were talking about the particulate matter. Later on, we have also done a lot of research in textile industry also. Today, the textile industry, the water pollution is done. I mean, like the water waste, which comes from the textile industry, the 20% pollution is done by the textile processes. So we have done some kind of nanocatalytic, photocatalytic materials where you can degrade the dye of textile, the processed dye, and you can use that water as a reusable, recyclable water, which can be used again in the process. This was successfully implemented in Jaipur dyeing industries, where we have done the photocatalytic catalytic reactors over there, which will work only on the sunlight, and it will show you the final effect. We have also done the lot of research in the breathable fabric, which is must needed. So the fabric that we are wearing today, they are basically nylon based, cotton based, and other polymeric based. We have done nanofiber coating on the fabric also. So it will have highly breathable material or coated on top of it. Not only that, but also it will give antiviral and antibacterial properties where you don't have to, wash it regularly and every day. Apart from that, this coating also being useful for the water repellent material. So if you put a drop of water on top of the fabric, it will roll on and it will clean the dust which is deposited on the fabric. So these are the innovation that we have done, and we are still working on a lot of research related to nanofiber, nanomembrane technology, which will be used in our houses and the automobile, where nowadays the people, they are always staying in the rooms, in the offices. A lot of time they are spending in the office and the automobile, the car inside. So the environment is not very good. I mean, like it is highly polluted environment, where we are introducing this kind of nanofiber based membranes for the antiviral, antibacterial, and the cleaning the air. Basically, that is what our motto and the goal that we are already doing it. And there are a lot of innovation that we are working on it. Time is very limited. I will let you know whenever it is required. Yeah. Thank you so much, Smita.
Wonderful, wonderful. That is so wonderful. I see beyond textile industry what kind of implications. Maybe nobody will take showers anymore. They'll use the nanofibers to clean up. So now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Sonali Dy. Dr. Sonali Dy is an experienced educator and researcher with a demonstrated history of working in the higher education for the textile and the retail industry. She's a graduate of NIFT, and she has worked with handloom designers early in her career. So she's very familiar with the production process in the textile industry. And then while working on a master's in Australia a decade later, she focused on sustainability in the textile industry itself. So she's very familiar with the consumer product. And then when she moved on to do her PhD in USA in the Iowa State University, she focused on the social corporate responsibility related to textile. So Sonali, would you like to enlighten us a little bit more about this field, as you have seen it from every facet, production, consumption, as well as corporate responsibility as to how this sustainability will be? Over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Smita, for the introduction. I'm Sonali Dy. I'm currently an associate professor in the Department of Design and Merchandising at Colorado State University. And I will say this year, I think, marks 20 years of my life in this industry, in the fashion industry, as a student, as a professional, as an educator, and still learning every day. So I'm very fortunate to be here and sharing this platform with these amazing panelists. I will say my area of focus, research focus, falls into the production consumption spectrum. And I started out with understanding how consumers make their decisions about buying from companies who claim themselves to be socially responsible. What drives those decisions? So mostly value-based norms, moral norms. Growing up in India, I think that was very inherent for us to make our choices based on what's right and wrong. But I think as I moved to, I say, consumption societies in Australia and the US, I think there was very little thought given to why we are buying these things, who is responsible for the environment, where does our product end up? So these questions were not being asked. And that kind of started my journey on understanding more. And as I see myself now, I am more into understanding what are the different alternative business models which will help with sustainability and sustainable fashion consumption. So fashion rentals, subscription models are, and again, I'm not saying they're sustainable. We need to do research, whether are these new models sustainable or not. And that's where I am right now. The other aspect of it, I think, is regional supply chains as well. And the more, as I think we moved, saying globalization, we source from different countries, I think pandemic brought forward a really interesting lesson for all of us, that maybe just going global is not a great strategy. And so my focus right now is on regional supply chains and what needs to be done, because that regional supply chains will help reduce the carbon footprint of our industry as well. And in the US, I think these numbers are, they are done by the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. And I think in every year, on an average, we put about 11 million tons of textiles in the landfill. And this includes different types of textiles, you can say, curtains, towels, clothes, but it's a huge impact on the landfill, and this is recorded, and it's increasing every year. While the research in the US is mostly on what can we do post-consumer, and in the European countries, it's more about how can we make consumers aware. So I think my area sits into the whole production consumption realm, working with producers and consumers and saying, what is the communication which we want to share with the society to make those sustainable transitions to sustainable lifestyles?
Wow, really a lot to learn from you. This is going to be fun. Thank you so much, Sonali, and Dr. Sonali, rather. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the one who's considered the vision of denim sustainability, Neha Cely. Neha is the founder of denim design and research house called Bluehania, and has worked as a design and strategy consultant with denim mills globally. She loves denim as a fabric, but also brought awareness to the sustainability downside of the beautiful denim. I love denim. So I was really interested in this. Manufacturing denim, you say, is a polluting process, and it involves toxic dyes and chemicals, which may end up in the water supply. So the denim cutting waste and surplus productions end up in landfills, so clogging those, so reduce this industry impact. You have now started 100% sustainable brand called Nice Jean. It's
Nece
from the word Nece Jean. It's from the word necessary. Okay. In collaboration with the reputed Irvin Mills, right? And the products in the brand comprise high fashion couture and avant-garde products, all made from denim industry waste. I'm really interested and intrigued by this. Neha, could you like to share a little bit more about, who you are and how you got into it, and about this with our audience?
Thank you so much for the lovely introduction, and hello to all the viewers and to my fellow panelists. I'm Neha Cely, and I'm the founder of Bluehania, which is a denim design and consultancy strategy house. I think we are the only ones in India. We work with denim brands and mills globally, and from design of fiber to final delivery of the product, communication design, sustainability strategies, we cover it all depending on what the client is really looking for. So being in the denim industry, I've kind of become an expert in the beautiful fabric, and I saw the downside of it, in all these years of working with different mills and brands. So, just to give an example, 12% of denim industry waste, 12% of denim waste is only found on the cutting table of one order sent. So, and, bigger waste still can get used in, the smaller boutique brands could use it, or the smaller brands, suppose there is a, very big production, a smaller yardage of 100 meters that is left can still be used by smaller brands. But I'm not talking about that kind of waste. I'm talking about the cutting waste, the small sludge, the fibers that get entangled in the exhausts, which end up in the water supply. So what happens to all this? So I started a brand called Nece Jean. Nece also happens to be my initials, and it actually stands for necessary. in this brand, we take all the denim industry waste and convert that into highly aesthetic products. So what we are trying to say through our imagery is sustainability doesn't need to come at the cost of design. So when you see, nece jean products, it's high couture fashion. So just to give you another example, we start our work in the design house from the pile of waste that we get from the mill, and very fortunate to work with urban mills with that. From the waste, we create high couture fashion garments. Now, once the garments are made, there is still some waste out of that. That waste is cut into strips and rewoven with newspapers, and it's made into new fabrics, and we make accessories out of it. Then there is some more waste, which is all fiber and sludge mix. That gets made into debricks, which is like the recent most development which we did. That is, mixed with biocomposite and a binder, and it's made into bricks, which are basically denim. So a lot of work is still happening in that area. And in the end, whatever waste, which is like a paste left, we convert that into papers. So the model is completely circular. We make sure we start with waste and we end with nothing. And normally the fashion industry is all about linear, take, make, waste. Our philosophy is make, innovate, wear, and recycle. So this is where nece jean stands. You mute.
Yes, very interesting. You said denim bricks. What did that mean?
So denim bricks, what we do in denim bricks is we take a lot of denim sludge mixed with denim scraps, because the amount of denim that is there in the industries is huge. So what I figured was just making garments and accessories and not really looking at materials that actually get used in housing or as decorative panels. It's going to be something which should not be ignored. So we've made bricks with denim waste and biocomposite material. So
wonderful. So people can use it as decoration inside the house, like,
right, Right. So whole walls can be filled with that. And there's a lot that can be done.
Awesome. Awesome. Oh, I'm really impressed. This is really fascinating. So why don't I start with, understanding that when I wasn't aware of these denim bricks, I would probably be using in mine. But let me ask Sonali let me start with Sonali and then others join in as they know the answer to this is, what do you think are the current trends in the fashion industry? And how do you think sustainability is playing a role in this industry? Sonali, means denim bricks is one thing that Neha already mentioned.
And just because we are on the topic of denim, I would also like to, I'm sure Neha would have seen this, but in the US, we also do denim insulation. So because for our walls, we need insulation. So they do cut up the scraps and make it into an insulation, and that goes into our housing material. So that's the other way denim is being used. But seriously, it's a very small baby step, and we have a long way to go because denim as a product is one of the most unsustainable over the years because it's become cheap. And in the United States, just to give you an idea, and just in the city which I live in, we trash about 70,000 pounds of denim in the landfill every 6 months, just because people can buy it and use it and donate, and they think that somebody's going to use it. But we can't re-export it to other countries because they're hot. The sizing of US denim is completely different. So all of this denim is sitting in our landfills. Every 6 months, we go and put that in. So that's huge.
I thought that wearing jeans that were cut now were raised and recyclable. That was the fashion trend. So.
Yeah. Levi's commissioned their first study on in denim, and they kind of first said that one denim uses about 3,781 liters of water to make one denim, right? Wow. Across the entire life cycle, including the consumer care. So that's the footprint we are looking for denim. But I guess on the flip side, about the current trends which are happening, which I see in my work with different networks, I think there's a lot of research and development happening on the actual material, the textile and the fiber material, a lot of focus from the brands for using better material, innovating material. Nike is at the forefront of it. A lot of outdoor companies are at forefront of it because they now know that their industry cannot survive if they do not tackle it right now. It is hitting their economic baseline. So they're going to invest in technologies and things of those sort to advance sustainability. So I think there's a lot happening on the base fiber material. As Dr. Patil said, we are using so much of polymers and so many combinations in one fabric. When it comes to the end, we cannot break it down to the virgin materials, and that would take more energy. So again, it's an unsustainable thing. So what can we do right from the beginning so that it has an afterlife after it is done? So I think that trend is happening in the industry. The other thing which I said was about regional supply chains. I think we are seeing a lot of regional supply chains, especially in the US, coming up, especially after the pandemic. And US was so dependent on every producing country in this area and processing, manufacturing. I don't think US had that ability over a few years. They just outsourced everything, and now it is coming back in small batch manufacturing. And I think I see all of those areas, even in European countries, that coming up a lot. The third trend I will say is the alternative business models. I mean, who would have thought about Uber or Airbnb being such a big hit? I think the same is happening across the world. We are seeing a lot of fashion rentals, fashion subscriptions, and customized clothing. I mean, all customized clothing was something which we grew up with. And we always grew up sustainably, but now it is making a comeback to say that we have to use things which last longer. So that mindset shift is happening. So I would say these three are the broad trends which are driving this industry right now. And even retailers are going into all of these fashion rentals, resale market. I mean, who would have thought retailers will have a secondhand, shopping corner as well in their retail stores, but they are coming up on board as well.
Right. Rent the Runway is a very famous brand that is catching up, I think, for the second-hand market. We have another person, Raye Padit, who started the second-hand shops in Singapore. And unfortunately, he couldn't join us today. But yeah, Dr. Patil, or would you have some thoughts on this also? Or Neha after that?
Yeah, absolutely. As Dr. Sonali said, there are a lot of innovations are going on. Recently, I've read about the cotton hybridization. The cotton that we used to get that is completely white always. As a farmer, since my childhood, I could able to see only one color of cotton, that is white. But nowadays, for the multiple color, and as I said in my initial discussion, that the dyeing is the highly polluted, and that is the major contribution of the carbon footprint. Now there are innovations are going on. How can cultivate the different color cottons where you can, dyeing process can be stopped over there. So similarly, in the case of as Neha said, that particularly there also dyeing is much involved process during the making the fabric. So one can create the natural colored cotton where it can be used directly. So one process can be stopped there. So I can see from my perspective as a scientist, it is the innovation much needed at the root level rather than at the final level. So that is how it can be, protected, and the carbon footprint can be lowered down. Yeah.
Wonderful. Neha, would you like to add something?
Yeah, so I think there are two, apart from the trends that my friends mentioned, I think there are two main trends that I'd like to talk about. One is a positive trend and one is a really negative trend. The positive trend is that a lot of companies have started looking at biodegradable and nature-friendly fibers like tencel, hemp, obviously cotton is there. So people, because the stretch jeans is also out, so people are no longer, like I would say, like a certain percentage, not like the whole chunk. They're no longer looking at spandex because they're kind of understanding what is spandex doing to our oceans. That is the microfibers that is, our fish are eating up. spandex and polyesters and whatever, all this chunk of plastic which is there in our clothes, this getting reduced and getting replaced by natural fibers like wool, hemp, tencel, and obviously cotton. This is one rise that I'm seeing in across brands. The negative trend that I really see and kind of get bogged down by is the greenwashing that our brands do. Even the fast fashion brands, when they say like, now we are sustainable because we are using 20% of recycled cotton, TCP, post-consumer waste in the yarns. I mean, you are still bringing your collections every month, twice that too. People are coming and buying you with those kind of prices. A $2 t-shirt is getting to 10 different places and finally getting bought. So you're not looking at what is the kind of impact that is causing. So greenwashing is another trend which I sadly see. I mean, it's kind of blocking the sustainable brands narrative as well. So yeah, that's what I'd like to highlight.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, like negative trends are as important as positive trends, because we have to be aware of them and stop those because, yeah. And so let me ask Dr. Patil one question, and then I'll come to you also, Neha, in this, is how do you see your nanofibers providing more? What kind of implications and usage in the sustainability sector that you see that can come up and that other startups can use, like in terms of, or other cottage industries and startups can use in the near future? Would you like to expand on it?
Yeah, so it is like the most important thing is that what we do today is like, regular washing of our clothes. You can see today. So let's take a part of that. Yes, innovations are needed in the fabric, but also the innovation also needed how to wash it. So important thing is like the many chemicals which is being used for the washing, they're also highly pollutant in the case of, water pollution level. We need to innovate in terms of fabric where it can have the self-cleaning ability. And that is where we are introducing this nanofiber coatings on the fabric, where it will have a kind of self-cleaning where, like just a shower of, not the complete dip into the water, but just the shower of water will clean the entire surface. This is one aspect that we are looking at it. And another is that like there are a lot of innovations are needed, like antiviral and antibacterial coatings. As Neha said, the tencel is the one of the good material. And I must tell you on this platform, the tencel, they are using the nanofabric composite material to make the antibacterial fabrics. Not only the antibacterial fabrics, but also the breathable fabrics. Like, the countries like in India, most of the part is always in a, like humid. And every day you have to wash the fabric. And this because of there is no breathability. The membrane is so strong, it is not allowing air to go inside. I mean, like, your body is not taking the air properly. So there we need to have this some kind of coatings like that is what we are introducing this nanofiber coatings, where it will allow air to pass and also it will cool down, where we want to have the thermally cooling and heating cycle materials where innovation can be implemented. And apart from this, like, as the biodegradable is the major concern today, like all the plastics, all the polymers, they are not highly and they are not 100% biodegradable. So here we are working. As I said, nano means like it is a very small object, very thin and very small, like 10⁻⁹ order of the size. The degradability, as size goes down, you can have the faster in the degradation rate. So that is how we are working on it. Like the materials, if the size is smaller, it will degrade faster. That is how we can, reduce the landfill, and that is how we can reduce the carbon footprint. There we are working on related to the the material which is based on cellulose. Of course, cellulose doesn't have the good strength if it is not cross-linked very well, and if it is cross-linked very well, it will not degrade very fast. So here is the innovation is needed. Yeah. So that is where we are, focusing, like how it can be done. And of course, we are already working on the nowadays in this pandemic, textile is one that garment is, we always consider whenever textile work comes, garment is the first focus area to focus on. But textile is also in the case of like during the COVID, the PPE kits, they are basically all made up of polymers. Okay. And
Right.
it is a major waste today. And where we are working on coating the nanofibers on PPE kit, there we can have the PPE kit reusable and washable. So that is
Right.
how, yeah.
Great. So the second part of the question is also what the role the cottage industry and small businesses could be playing, and what is the scope for the startups? Maybe Neha can answer this one, or Sonali, as you guys deal with startups, also other startups, and you all being entrepreneurs at this time. So Neha, would you like to add to this? And then Sonali, Dr. Sonali, if you could add to it too. Yeah.
I think the big industries are, the big conglomerates are clearly not doing enough when it comes to sustainability. So I think the charge is really on the small industries and the cottage industries, especially in India. So I think a whole brand, if you see, can be based on the pillar. I'm giving you an example on the pillar of recyclability. Like suppose a brand chooses that, okay, we are only going to make products out of recycled materials, and we'll make sure that there is no virgin material getting created in the process. And also we'll involve practices like, because it's a slow fashion brand, we'll involve practices like hand embroideries. So giving, work to a lot of laborers, especially in India, because this is what we stand for. Embroideries is something which is like our forte. And then, taking slow fashion movement to a whole new level. So this is how small industries and cottage industries can bring about a change, because I don't think the big industries are really doing enough. And also, as Sonali ma'am said, buying back schemes and rentals, these are all small companies' work. I think that is something which we definitely together as small companies could do.
Great. Sonali, would you like to add to it? Because
yes,
as you and I were talking.
I think one of the trends which came to me after we talked was transparency. I think the whole industry is moving a lot into transparency, trying to understand where are things going, who is making my clothes, and all of those things. And I think big companies do have the money and the technology and the manpower to do it. So we are seeing the bigger companies addressing it, just starting to address it, not addressing it completely, just starting to address it. But I think the smaller designers and entrepreneurs, I think that would be their strength to map out their supply chain and make sure that they're as transparent in their business processes, because that's what a consumer wants to know, where things are coming from. So I think transparency as a whole would be the other big thing for entrepreneurs to document, because as we start off with a business venture, we are thinking about all the other things, but we don't put so much focus on the showing where our suppliers are or how much we are paying them. So I think being transparent in our business practices might be other thing which the entrepreneurs can take from.
Right. And Sandip, would you like to add something? I thought that you had something, or
I'm in line with Neha and Dr. Sonali. The reason is that why big company are not more focused. They are, of course, they want to do it but cannot able to do it. The reason is their focus is mostly on the sustainable or their own entity rather than the sustainable of the recycling. And why these smaller industries are more sustainable? Yeah, sorry, Neha.
I'm saying exactly, profits before people and planet.
Exactly. And why so a smaller company are successfully doing it? The reason is they have very limited manpower and their focus is only on that particular part. So this is the major reason and major this thing. But of course, that is where the policy need to be changed. Like how much percentage of the recycling of each institute, each university is doing, because it is not related to the textile and the industries. It is all related to the UN institutions level also. There are many stuff like, so.
Interesting take. And you identified the real problem there, right?
Yeah.
So, and there could be a lot of cottage industries, a lot of small startups who can really take this up. Opportunities over there. So we are nearing to the time. I had more questions. It's a very interesting discussion we are having. However, one of the attendees asked this question. Let me bring that up first. Is what's your take on clothing made from PET bottles? Who would like to take this?
Sorry. Say it again.
What's your take on clothing made from PET bottles? So it's PET bottles.
Could I add something, because that's been on my radar for quite some time. I
Sure.
think when they first started recycling PET bottles for a polymer and doing this whole recycled polyester thing, it was done in good faith. But as they did more research, what they found was, and Dr. Patil may be able to say more about this, is the recycled polyester was releasing more microfibers than virgin polyester. So I think if we think from an input-output kind of a model, we are using more energy to break this PET bottles, and then we are releasing more microfibers in the ocean. So most of the brands, at least in the US, and I think many of the European countries, pulled back their communications about recycled polyester. You will not see that being a mainstream media thing about recycled polyester, because now they know that it does release a lot of microfibers. But I don't know how it is in India and other developing countries. What's the narrative about PET bottle recycling?
Right. We just have like half a minute left, and I would love to thank you all for being here, and would like to bring Priya back. Or Shivani, do we have more time, or is it just we should wrap up? Thank you so much for your wonderful discussions and thoughts on all this. Really, really excited about it. We should continue the talk some other time too.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely.
Thank you so much, everyone. It is a wonderful I could able to connect with the two fashion designers, where I always dream to make some technology and the fashion something different. Sometime I will definitely catch you, and you also, ma'am. Thank you so much for the nice discussion and everything.
Thank you so much, everybody. Lovely meeting you all and talking with you all.
Thank you.
Lovely meeting you all, and I need to know more about the denim bricks.
Absolutely.
And the denim design. Nanofibers, and work with Sonali on sustainability. Thank you very much for being here. Really appreciate your thoughts.
Thank you. Thank you.